has never experienced the trauma side of it. And I'm going to let her tell a little bit about how she feels it's going from the trauma side.
Well, it's not only trauma, it's the relaxation, stress management, and positive programming, really positive programming. And I always worry, like I said to John before y'all got on, whether guys are going to buy into this therapy, but they really haven't. Every person closes their eyes, every person does the breathing. And yesterday they had their first visualization where they actually created the visualization. They chose a river. They could have chose a mountain or outer space or beach, but they chose a river, and they all participated in making that session created, because, you know, the name of the therapy is Create an Image. And they told me that they really liked the fact that they were creating the therapeutic session, and they just really, really, really like it. 2 of the residents have come up to me and told me that they are completely happy and think it's wonderful that we have a research component, because they've been in chemical abuse programs before, chemical dependency, and pretty much everybody does the same thing. We're interested in creating a brand new program, and they realize it's new, particularly the people who have been in other programs. And so they're working a lot on hopelessness, depression, anxiety, PTSD, and anger are their major things. Fortunately, this group has a lot in common with each other, so everybody gets to work on something that and then trust and optimism and hope are the things, the positives they're working on. So they've just really bought into the program, and we have so much testing. I'm actually embarrassed how much time they have to spend, but they do it and they don't complain because they know it's part of making the program better. So they've bought into not only the therapy, but the research side of it. They believe in evidence-based, and they believe that programs should be able to be created and evaluated. And they also know that at the end, they will evaluate us. Not only will we see if they've improved, they will evaluate how well they like the different components. I've come to believe one more thing, that this concept of therapeutic community and bringing everybody in at the same time, I think it's essential, because they keep saying it's a home-like environment. And last night, one of the residents looked at another one that was younger than him, and he said, I want to be a sponsor for the first time in my life. Can I help you be a sponsor? And he said, yes, sir. And can I help be your sponsor? So that's stuff that's happening on their own, not in meetings, but just after dinner. And so they seem to be bonded to each other, and they're investing support in each other. And I can't tell you how wonderful that is, because it doesn't work if you don't have aftercare support. And so they're planning on, you know, going out in the community to some AAs and coming back here to some AAs and just staying in touch with each other. Is there anything? Oh, one more thing. We have one resident that's schizophrenic, and I was very concerned. I've always avoided doing visual imagery with people that hallucinate. So I did him by myself once, and I watched him at each, and I said, now, Dwight, please tell me, is this making your voices worse? He said, no, I like this. And I said, is it making your voices less? He said, yes, ma'am. And I went, oh, my Lord. That's nothing I ever expected. And he's talking and opening up to the other residents. And so this is his family, and the other people that wanted him to come here are ecstatic with the fact he's not sitting alone in a corner. He's eating with the other guys and talking to them. And in jail, he never did that. So that's the progress we're making.
Okay, so with...
Hold on, question. So how many residents are in this beginning startup?
There's 7. The house holds 8, but we decided to not wait another week for the 8th person. We already have 3 people on the waiting list, and that's what I was going to go into here next. We
okay, sorry.
No, that's fine. We were able to really hit the community pretty hard here, and to our amazement, the parole office, the state defender's office, both came out walked through the place and got us people. We have 45 therapists between the website and the Facebook in the Flathead Valley that are now aware of us and have been making calls to us and wanting information on us, because they have, like the one therapist we talked to yesterday has 6 people that she wants to put into therapy. Well, there's almost our whole next deal, you know.
Sounds great. Just a question: Have you received any pushback from the community or the people?
Yeah. So what happened is the state defender's office has a social worker. Her name is Jennifer Ball, and she came out and sat out here with Dr. Broad and myself for 3 hours, and another psychologist. And so they talked to us, and then George, and you're going to be aware of these people, the Billy Gills and all these guys that were in that veterans deal. She went to that meeting and they just crushed me. They were like I was the lowest piece of dog doo on the earth, you know. So it really kind of set her back a little bit. But then when we opened up and she came out and she seen the way the guys were reacting, responding, and doing better, we made a believer out of her. Okay, so what we have elected to do is stay away from the veteran organizations right now. We need to just prove ourselves and show that what we're doing is working. That, you know, these first 7 guys coming out of here, they're all agreeing to do testimonials. I've got one guy that would love to come to work for the organization. I've got, you know, another young man that wants to come out and help do AA meetings and even pick up some of the guys to go out to outside meetings and stuff. So, you know, that way, the only way that I know to beat this area is to just prove ourselves with the veteran group. The rest, the medical, everybody else that we've talked to, there's an organization here in town called Pathways, and that's the detox, and they have like 40 some beds, but they were having to send people all over the state and out of the state to go into inpatient. And now that we're here, they've sent us 2 people just like bang. And when I went in and talked with them, they said they could give us about 3 people a week. Well, we don't have beds for that many. So, and then the other 3 areas that we've actually gotten a person here from Missoula, and then we have a long list of people from Great Falls that we are now. John and George Benefice, the emergency room at the hospital there. One of just went over and did a presentation to them, and we are now their #1 referral. So, and then in Butte, there's just outside of Butte is Warm Springs, and that's that one there. I find it interesting. They are an inpatient treatment, but their waiting list is so long that they want to start referring people to us. This area, the state of Montana, is in a crisis. And just to put this all in perspective for you folks, there is 4 facilities in this state. There's 144 beds. Now, saying that, I want you to understand that the Flathead County is the highest meth use per capita in the nation. So they are in crisis here. Now, unfortunately, in this area, there's a lot of the ostrich effect, meaning they're sticking their heads in the sand and they're not wanting to deal with what's here. They're complaining about the crime, they're complaining about the drugs, but they haven't reached the point of doing something about it. And I think that's why the medical community, the therapeutic community, has received us so highly. Okay, so the next area that I would like to bring up, and this is where Lisa is going to be instrumental for us, is marketing. Lisa will be coming up here on Monday and spending, I think, until the 26th with us. I want to get a marketing plan put together, a solid plan of which, as we get there, I'll be sending it off to you folks so you can kind of see what our ideas are. What the biggest thing is we got to keep the beds full. That's to make this thing work. We got to have the beds full. I want to look at the expansion when I'll be coming down to Texas on the 23rd, 24th, something like that. And when I get there, I'll have a few days. I want to start looking. I want to start seriously looking around down there. Vicki, just so you know, there's a high probability we're going to be right in your back door. I have found a number of pieces of property in Montgomery that has really, really piqued my interest.
Great.
Yeah. So, with that being said, you know, obviously I want the board to be aware of the fact that we're going to be on a fundraising campaign here. You know, I think one of the most interesting parts of this is as we find people that can help us with this from an investment standpoint. They can use the housing as collateral into what they put into it. You know, we do have a unique opportunity here. I have had the pleasure, I'll put it that way, of meeting the last drummer for Frankie Valli. And he is tied into the music world like no kidding. Well, his sister happens to be a producer and writer and actress in Hollywood. And so they have very much opened their arms to me and said, you know, Jason, there's a lot of need here, a lot of need. And with the right housing and the right therapy, we could fill these beds at $50,000 a month. So that's what I'm looking at in Texas. I mean, the pieces of property we're looking at down there are somewhere between the 2.3 and the 3.5 million dollars. So, and when you look at 50,000 and you bring, you know, 5 people in, you got $250,000 every month coming through the door. So it won't take long. And how I anticipate all of this coming through is when Lisa's up here, and Lisa's, feel free to step in here at any point, but one of the first things that we're going to be working on is our website. We have got to have a website. I can't tell you how many people have said to me, well, I can't find your website. We have a website, but it's been taken down simply because it was just strictly all for the veterans. And even we are still working with veterans, but they're not the primary any longer. So I want to get that website done. Excuse me. I want to get the marketing plan put together, and then I want to get it put into action. I'm feeling very comfortable, and I don't want to sound overly confident, but I think what we've created here, these 8 beds can be kept full all the time. Now that being said, I'm going to lay something out here, and you know, I'm gonna ask the board to help me with this because we just had another situation here. Dan Sheffer has been, he bought the ranch for us, and he's been helping me kind of keep it alive along with George through all of this. However, we just had another situation. We built these 5 duplexes out here. We wanted to take the last 2 duplexes and turn them into our outpatient, which is exactly what we've done. We were quoted $40,000. We are now at $90,000 on these, and I'm beyond baffled. I don't even know what to say at this point. I've got a meeting with Dan tomorrow morning, and I'm just like, you know, I just don't know that I want to build anything more up here. I mean, the market is here. It's here, and I've got some prints that I think I sent out to you folks. But I'm just not, unless we could come up with one heck of a construction company, or maybe hire one in Texas and have them come up here and build. I don't know how else to do it, because every time I've touched something in construction here, the cost is just doubled.
And they won't even do a contract.
I can't get a contract. I can't get, I mean, I'm pulling teeth just trying to get a bid. So anyway, just because it's the,
on material costs or on labor costs?
Well, see, that's what Dan did on this last one, and that's what I'm going to be talking to Dan about. We cannot do this time and material thing any longer. Because what is happening is, like, when Dan got that, I mean, Dan called me last Wednesday, and he was just like, I'm done. He said, I paid out $45,000 last week, and this week they came in with another $32,000 bill, Jason. And I'm like, Dan.
And the cabins were already built. It wasn't like they weren't constructed. This was for finishing them. They were already built. It's crazy.
But you couldn't find any companies that would do turnkey bids for you?
No, see, that's just it. this is in a boom area up here. Even in the middle of winter right now, we're having a heck of a time just coming up with construction people. And it's like they all come in and they just do whatever they want to do. Like I was out there, you know, a week and a half ago, and I seen the electrician on the big building, and I said, "So what are we doing?" He said, "Oh, well, Cole said we needed a 400 amp in here." I said, whoa, time out. Whoa, we don't even know what we're doing out here yet. So the construction guy just went ahead and said, yeah, go ahead and put that in. Well, that's $10,000. And I said, no, stop. We don't know what we're doing. So, and of course, then Cole got upset with me, and he ran to Dan. And of course, Dan did take my side. He was like, we didn't tell you to put a 400 amp in there. You know, so, and these construction guys, they just go do what they want to do and then hand you the bill.
It's the Montana way. We lost it.
This is Lisa. I just want to interrupt for a second because I've been, you know, in a few, and maybe Montana, I'm just not familiar with Montana, but some of this stuff, Jason, we should be or could be, or at least shooting to attempt to have volunteers do some of this work. So that, I mean, you know, a contract for the labor and materials or whatever, but some of this stuff should be offset by, I mean, we're a nonprofit, and so having a fundraising and a PR campaign and that sort of thing will be asking for volunteers as well. I mean, that just seems ludicrous to me that people don't.
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys didn't have a contract or a bid and they aren't required to stay within the timeline.
These guys are the 5th contractors that I've had on this project out here. Okay, and George can tell you what we went through out here. And it's like every single contractor that we've had out here, you can't get them to sign a contract. I mean, I've asked for contract on 3 of these guys, and they just say, no, we don't do that here. And then when I ask for the license, I'll say, well, can I at least get a contractor's license or a general's license? And they'll bring me in something, and it's like they bring me in a contract that says, well, yeah, I can do drywall. I'm like, well, that doesn't work. Excuse me.
Wow. I mean, it may be worth it to look at contractors outside of the state then.
Yeah.
Obviously, there may be certain licensed professionals that you have to get that are licensed by the state, but on general contractors, it seems like you could bring, you know, when I was in Colorado, there's a big boom going on in construction all over Colorado. There's construction workers from all over the country working there. Right, yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm not opposed to looking at that 16-bed facility, but we just can't take a $650,000 bid and turn it into $1.3 million.
Nope.
I mean, everything we've got $2 million in this project right now. And it's like, you know, and we're just now to the point of where we can actually see where we're going to start making some money, you know, or generating some income off of it. So I don't know, it's food for thought. I mean, the board can tell me what you want me to do, but I'm a little gun shy. I'm just going to say it, you know, I'm gun shy. So, okay. Let's see. What else do I have here? One of the things that I want to work on when Lisa's up here is we want to get some PowerPoints put together, for promotional, not only on the internet with our website, but to do some social media, you know, make some social media presence. John, I know you're really into the video and the social media stuff, so we're gonna be getting a hold of you on that. So yeah, okay. So the last thing, obviously, that I have is, you know, the financial information here. So I need everybody to understand how this is working with Medicaid before I go into telling you what I need. So with Medicaid in the state of Montana, you have to be in operations. They will give you what is called a provisional license, is what we have right now. So we can operate, but we cannot charge Medicaid until we have full state approval. Now, what my plan is as soon as I get back from Texas, somewhere around the 8th, well, I'll be back from Texas probably around the 4th, but what I want to do is right there in that following week, I want the state to come in and do their inspection. I feel very confident. Sheila and Dr. Broad have done a phenomenal job setting up these charts and everything for the guys. And I was fortunate enough, the pharmacist that I use, there's now an organization called VitaStat, and they do all of your medical MARs online. It's phenomenal, and it costs $7.25 per person per month. It's dirt cheap, and it's already been approved by the state. So that's one less thing that we would have to worry about from the state. So what happens here is all these guys like we have in here right now, we keep all of our documentation, we fill out all of our Magellan paperwork, all of our Medicaid, we fill out everything we need to, and then it's retroactive for up to 365 days. So if for some reason they came in and did an inspection and said, no, you're not up to standard here, there, whatever, we could still take all of this back occupancy that we have and still get our money from Medicaid. So my goal is to really try to be fundable by the 15th of April. Enough income that I can cover all payroll through the 15th of April. At that point, we're going to have to raise some funds somehow to carry on until I can start getting the checks coming through from Medicaid. Now, the really good part about the thing with Medicaid is what we're doing here. We will get approximately $120,000 a month for the 8 people in here, but at that time, we will then be available to do the ACT program, which will generate about $30,000 a month, and then we can do our outpatient, which that'll be another $30,000 to $40,000 a month. So somewhere in the mix of all of this, we're probably going to be between $170,000 and $180,000 a month income.
And I think we could add a detox phase to that as well, Jason, but we can talk about that offline.
Yeah.
The detox as well.
We'd have to build another building to do that.
Yeah,
I saw the agenda that normally in the board meetings there's a written report by the president or by the executive chairman, and also normally there's a written financial report that's presented as well. Do you have any reports of those that you could email us to review?
Not at this time, I don't, because obviously the only monies that I've had to run this on right now has come from Dan. And I mean, I can give you a statement as the money that's been brought in and where it's been spent in that. Yes, that I can absolutely do.
That would be good.
Okay. So when I say, we get Medicaid in here, even if we are approved on the 15th, we are still going to have to come up with about 60, 90 days of working capital, which is equivalent to about $150,000 to carry us through till we'll start getting those checks through. So, and I can lay all that out for you. That I have all that laid out, so I can get that emailed off to you so you understand what I'm doing. So I think that's kind of all that I have. Lisa, is there anything you want to add?
No, just that would be my first kind of order of business is to survey the place and come up with a strategic fund-grade capital, raising plan.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, the other day when you and I were talking, if you could you tell the board a little bit about some of the grants that you came across?
Well, because of the opioid crisis, there are a ton of grants that federal grants available for facilities like ours. If we have a component in there for opioid use or misuse or whatever. And I think that what Dr. Broad designed is sufficient and between her and Sheila's programs. The only issue with grants at this stage is not having enough time with patients under our belt. But that doesn't mean that we can't apply and keep applying until we do have enough time under our belt where they think that, because grantors are usually looking to make sure that that money is utilized properly and that it does some good. And so usually you have to have a little bit more proven success. We just don't have enough time for that. But that doesn't mean that I won't apply for some of these grants, and eventually we will qualify for them. So,
Lisa?
it's a good time right now.
Well, I have a question. Have you set out some procedures, some metrics by which to measure your progress by in the various areas?
Yeah, boy, we have testing. Yeah, it's really, it's kind of obscene, but I'm a testing person, so that's the way it came down. Actually, 2 of our residents have told us that the fact that we're an evidence-based program and we're doing pre and post tests, they're impressed with that. I think the reason they're impressed with that is because they've been in 2 or 3 or 4 other chemical dependency programs that they didn't think were very effective. They like our program because of the relaxation, trauma, all that part, the positive and negative. They like that part of it, but they also like the fact that we'll be evaluating their success and letting them know about that in terms of anxiety, depression, hopelessness, anger, PTSD, and all that. They like that part, and that they will evaluate us. But you realize that when I go to conference on March the 24th to speak in San Antonio, I will actually have some results, but it's only 7 patients. You understand that? That's what Lisa's talking about. It's going to take us about 3 or 4 rounds before we'll have numbers of patients high enough to see that consistent changes that we're pretty well sure. And I will say that if we don't get changes in anxiety, I'll retire, because I've gotten that for 40 years with Mimi Lupin's relaxation program. So there's some things we've gotten, like anger, aggression, frustration, anxiety, that we get all the time. We never fail, 7 out of 7 times. So I'm not worried about that, but I agree with you, Lisa, that and Vicki, that it's the N, it's the number of, it's the N size. It's going to take us a while. But as soon as that, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
I said, as soon as that happens, we need to start presenting these at drug conferences, our results.
Well, right. I think that we'll need them for Medicaid. I think that we'll need them for grants. I think that we'll need them for PR. I think that we'll need all of that for all of the different components too. But what I was going to, and I agree with you, Dr. Broad, that those numbers are going to make a difference across the board in terms of funding and, like I just said, PR, the whole continuum of trying to do. The good thing about grant work, and especially the federal government, is that they're going to tell us exactly what we need to have in order to qualify, and we either do or we don't, and then when we do, then we will qualify, and so then that money is, ours for the taking. So really it's low-hanging fruit. We just have to get our numbers where they need to be.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Vicki, you were going to ask a question?
She didn't hear you.
Vicki? Did I lose you, Vicki?
Maybe we lost her.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. Okay, so does anybody have any questions in particular they want to ask me?
Vicky Martinez, sorry, my line dropped. I'm back.
Oh, okay.
No, Jason, my question was, I want to make sure that we had those metrics in place from the very beginning so that we didn't have to play catch up later on when it came to the time of trying to improve our results.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. So, and I guess there again, you know, I've been doing this for a while here with the veterans and that, but I've never had an active board. So you guys are like the first active board we've ever had, and I'm really looking forward to your participation level and you know what I mean. You're all business people. You're all and getting some direction. You know, how do I say this? I guess I'm tired of being the ball in the pinball machine that's just bouncing around from one to the next, to the next, to the next. You know? Yeah. Yes, I can.
Did you address Lisa?
Yes.
I can barely hear you if you did.
Okay, try it again, John.
Yeah. I'm sorry, John. I'm having difficulty hearing you.
Okay, Lisa. So, did you hear that from John?
I didn't hear all of it. So
Okay.
if you did, can you please relay it?
Okay, so listen to what I'm saying here, and correct me if I'm wrong, John. One of the things that Lisa and I are going to be working on is a PowerPoint. Okay, what John was asking Lisa was he's saying that he has some people that would potentially be interested in helping us financially, but he needs some kind of an outline of more or less a more professional outline of Glacier Hope Homes. Okay, are you asking for? Okay, you want like a bio? Is that what you're asking for, John, or do you want financial statements or what?
No, I'm needs.
Okay, did you get that, Lisa?
I did, and yes, John, that is on the list of one of the first things I'm going to put together is a presentation that can be for funders, for fundraising, and that the board members or whomever can take and present to people. And then it will include a needs statement. And what it costs us basically to run the place, and how people can contribute. And so that's one of the first things I've been putting together.
And also, it would be good if you could include what money, services, goods are tax deductible for them. If you would include that in the presentation.
Absolutely. I will do that.
Okay. Okay.
That's so exciting, John. I can't tell you how awesome it is to hear that from a board member, because usually that's one of the hardest things that board members should be willing to do is to raise funds. So that's great. I'll get right on that. I'll be there Monday. So once I kind of get acclimated, then that'll be, it's on the top 3 things that I'm going to start to do. So
Okay.
that's exciting. Thank you.
Okay, George. Okay, George, you got anything you want to bring in here?
Well, for as far as you've progressed, it might be worth trying to revisit. And, I can go with you and or talk to Dr. Johnson. He's in Rotary Club. And with that other physician group, I think they're up and running. There might be opportunities that could still be addressed.
And I think there's some of the people, George, that in the past that you and I have talked with or talked about or whatever. I think if we had that professional presentation, I think, as John's saying, I think it's now just a case of, because we are operational now and we are going to have testimonials here within 2 weeks. I mean, these guys are really anxious because, I've watched them and I'm going to tell you what I think the biggest thing for these guys is, because every guy that's in this program right now has already been through a rehab process. And the biggest element that they're saying is that I don't feel like I'm in prison here.
Institution.
I'm not in an institution. And, so where we decided to do it in a home environment and they have a little more freedom. I mean, the other night it felt so good. I walked in. I've been having to do the night cooking, and when I was cleaning up and stuff, the guys were sitting at the tables and they were working on their lessons, and it was just like being back in college is what it was. They're all sitting there and they're talking, and you got a couple that are sitting there just really working hard and stuff, and it was just like, and then when they were done, it was all like, hey, let's get some popcorn. We're gonna watch a movie, and it was just like. Just that home environment. And I got to tell you, I hope all of the groups do as well as this one did getting along, because these guys they've literally become a family, and it's amazing to watch. But, and I know that we're not going to be that fortunate with all of our groups, but, I think part of that is
that's not necessarily true.
Well, I hope not. I hope not. But, yeah.
Continuing work, they could come in 1 or 2 whatever at different times in the evenings or what have you, and address the new guys and tell them their experiences and give them some positive enforcement.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, and see, we've already had 2 guys volunteer to do that. And when we get into some nicer weather up here, the one guy was telling me, he said, Jason, not even 4 miles from here is a beautiful park-like setting right on the river that's a friend of mine's that I know we could go out there. He said we could throw blankets down and have some of our relaxation right out there along the river. So they're starting to think. They're starting to say, how can I be more of this? Where in the other places they're saying, how fast can I get out of here?
I said this to John. I don't know if I said it to y'all, so forgive me if I did, but one of the residents this morning told me, said, I was talking to another resident who's a lot younger than me, and I said, I've never been a sponsor, an AA sponsor before. I'd like to be your sponsor. And the younger resident looked back and said, yes, and I want to support you, so I want to be your sponsor too. They came up with that on their own last night. They weren't in group. They weren't, they approached each other to be a support system for each other after they got out of that program. And I swear it's made me believe in the therapeutic community even more than I did previously. It's the bonding, and that would never happen if they were all coming in on different days. The fact that they've started together and grown together is a really important variable.
I agree with you, Dr. Bott. I think that's very important, and if we can continue to do it like that, that may be, or maybe even in segments,
Yeah, well, and see...
But we'll talk about that offline, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, John G., still with us? Okay, what are you thinking at this... Okay, what are you thinking at this point?
I'm very excited for you. Okay, first of all, I've got a in the cost of that.
Yeah.
Even in Great Falls, we don't have a construction boom that's a little above what you guys have up in Flathead, but still, it's hard to get anybody done to do anything here. And the cost, I had explained to me, because one of the people we're working with is one of the larger contractors here, and he's going to help us out with the project we got going on. You know about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it will. They're willing to do some payment in kind. In other words, they'll contribute some of their labor and things like that. But the same way the architect that's designing this, they're going to do the same thing. I showed him those drawings he got for the cottages. And he said they're going to be at least 90,000 plus.
Wow.
So you got nice. You saw what I told you about before. Facility, a 60-bed facility here with the features we're going to have to it. We're like an annual $8 million on it. He said, and it has no other thing other than to do with the fact that there are so many construction projects that are going on. It's hard to get anybody to do anything, so it's a market thing.
Yeah, and I guess
it's a market barrier thing. You have to pay what the market bears.
yeah, I don't have a problem with what the market can bear, okay? It's just if you tell me one price, I expect you to stick to your word. You know,
yeah, that's why you'd have to have the contract.
Yeah.
Written contract. In fact, if you can find a general down there that does, we're talking about a license. This here that we have here is one of the larger ones in town, and he's been around for long. In fact, it's a generation. It's a family owned. He's the guy now. His father started this thing, 50, 60 years ago. And so they've been around for a while, and they're highly respected.
Yeah.
I have worked with them in the past. But anyway, if you want, I could actually approach him about it if you want to know. They don't have any problem going on.
I mean, I've got the blueprints, and I'd be happy to share them if he wants to put a bid in it. But and that's what I told Dan. I absolutely am not willing to build another thing on this property unless it is absolutely a solid contract, because I just, because we want to expand this in other areas, and I'm just not going to throw good money after bad. I'm just not.
No, no need to that. See, I was talking recently. They're finishing up an $18 million project in Butte, so they don't do just in Great Falls. They go around the state.
Okay.
They had this down Butte because they were the best bidder, and of course the quality of the work. I've seen their work. I've worked with them on projects or a company I worked for one before, and they do quality work.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll get.
There is that.
Okay, I'll get the set of plans over. I've got to come over to the Great Falls area here. When Lisa's here, I think her and I will probably be taking a run over there, just because I want to get in front of Benefice, and and we'll come over and meet you and George and stuff. But I definitely, and again, John, I can say to you, we are open now. We are, in 2 weeks, we're going to be looking to fill those other 8 beds. So if you do know of anybody or whatever, please let them know, that we're, yeah, because I really would like to have, I'd like to have at least a 2 turnaround waiting list.
Yeah. Also, can you take the next group? You're taking the groups of what, 8?
8
at a time, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Well, see,
what time period are you?
About the 17th or 18th.
it's about the 17th.
Okay, so they're running about 2 or 3 weeks apart.
Yeah, it's a 21-day program.
21 days, okay.
Yeah. So, and here was my thought if we did do the 16-bed facility out here. I wanted to do 1 week with 8, second week with 8, third week with 8, because then when we got to the 4th week, we were starting over again. Yeah. So every single week there would be another group coming through, which that group then goes right into our outpatient. Now, we are starting to promote our outpatient here, which I'm really surprised. We're getting some pretty good feedback on that, but we got to get the program put together for that first. But yeah, I really think this outpatient could be almost as good, if not better, than what our inpatient is. Financially,
and then our numbers will be better too, John.
Yeah.
The aftercare is critical because many of these others around here or around the states I'm aware of, and aftercare is not even an afterthought. I mean, it just doesn't exist.
Well, you know,
Really?
it's kind of funny because when we had the parole board out here and we had it's so they both come from so different areas. Like the gal from the parole board come out and said, "Hey, we don't see a chore board out here." Well, a week before that, Jennifer come out here and she's like, "Oh, you can't ask these guys to do chores." And I'm like, "Well, now, which one do I satisfy here?" You know. So they've got.
I have a lot to say about that. In fact, that's one of my points in the vocational training.
Absolutely.
And, I'm pretty firm on this. If you want your recovery to succeed, work once you earn it. You have to. You have a vested interest in what's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
That's and if successful, go to just take a look at the one out in Seattle I've told you guys about.
Yeah.
That's Fire Human Services. They've been doing it for over 50 years. To give you an idea, I told you that we have over 10,000 men and women per year go through the program, and that's like right now at all. And they have a full program, of course it's in the area, but they have detox all the way up through, and they have not just a vocational training, they have an apprenticeship program that runs up to 4 years.
Well, yeah. So there's a program in Hawaii that is very similar to that, and it's a 2.5 year program. So they own several businesses, and as the patients progress to the second and third phase of the program, they get a stipend so that they can learn financial literacy as well, but a vocation and financial literacy. And these businesses actually enable scholarships for people that don't have insurance or don't have Medicaid. So it sustains the facility as well.
Right.
So,
That's how they do it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. They have several industries. They actually own businesses. They have some manufacturers. I took a tour of one building. They make aircraft parts for Boeing and some other manufacturers. It's a 30,000 square foot building. They've been doing that for years. And the contract, well, of course, Boeing was one of the big sponsors when they started 50 years ago. But they make parts for Genie Scissor Lift and everything like that. They have really different manufacturing. That's how they get a lot of money to support their programs.
Yes.
But now, like I'm saying, they go in there, they do have knowledge that they're going to have to do some work. I've had some, not an issue, but I've had guys in our program come in here, and the minute you tell them they're going to work, they sit home. And they don't come back or don't call you back. I told them, it's real simple. We're not going to sit around and smoke cigarettes and drink coffee all day long.
Right.
We're here to put you to work, and that's how you make things work. It's just an attitude, actually, because that's part of the training principle is how you do a job. If you can't my job principle, you're not going to have a lot of luck when you get back.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. Well, I think.
Other things too. I can go on for us quite some time here.
Well, I think there will be a point, John, as you and I have talked about in the past, where I think once we get a few of these turnarounds under our belt, there'll be other things that we can look at that we need to add or take away from the program, you know?
Yeah, one of the things that we're really hoping to make a stress at in the outpatient aftercare is family issues. All of these, several of my guys have lost their children, and that's one of the big things they want is a reunification with their family. And because I worked with abused children for so long, I kind of know those dynamics. But yes, I think that's something. But the thing about it is, I'm always worried about watering down the program. It's taken us so long to get our heads around these forms and the master treatment plan, all these other things that the staff has felt pretty overwhelmed. We haven't had real good secretarial help. So we have to do one thing at a time. I keep reminding myself of that because I like to do 20 things, but we really do have to focus on making sure our people are well trained because we can't oversee them 24/7.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
and
Scott, on the family issue is part of what I call the reconciliation or restoration
Yes,
process.
absolutely.
Component. You have to have that in there because they're affected just as much as the individual.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody's actually in treatment if you think about it.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, because you don't have just 7 people there. You have their entire families.
Yeah.
Involved as well, and they have to be involved in it.
Yep. Well, and I think that goes back to John L's, you know, a lot of what we're doing here is a humanitarian project. I mean, when you get right down to it, you know. But Dr. Broad brought up an issue, and I need to let the board know. I did fire our secretary yesterday. There was so much conflict between her and the other staff and her. I was handling it with the staff until the residents started coming to me complaining about her, and I just said, okay, enough's enough. So just so you know, I did let her go. Okay. Is there anybody got any other thing they want to ask me or anything?
Yes, I do. This is Vicky. On the agenda, you show board, 2 term of the board, 3 requests from board executive director, 4 health, and the board will convene. Since I don't have a copy of the bylaws, are any of those being addressed in bylaws?
Yes, actually they are. Okay, so
I'm not really sure what I didn't think there was decisions will be made on any of that, or if we need to look at the bylaws. And
okay.
Look at the bylaws, I don't really have a basis.
Okay, so I think, Vicki, what I'd like to do here is I will make sure that every board member gets a copy of the article, like the stuff that I sent you, but also get the bylaws out. And then you guys can determine when you want to have your next meeting, and then let me know, and if you want us to attend or not. Is there anything other than the bylaws that you folks would like to see from me?
Financials.
Okay.
Financials, and then the description that you said you were going to put together to know the way everything works.
Okay. Well, the description is probably going to take a little bit here until I can get. I mean, Lisa's going to be up here on Monday, and we'll start on it immediately. But I don't. Do you know how long that'll take, Lisa?
I don't, but I certainly, if you guys meet monthly, I'm sure I can get it to you before the next meeting.
Okay.
Certainly, the next few weeks.
Do the bylaws call to meet monthly? Because the board does normally meet quarterly, not monthly.
Right.
Okay.
It's usually quarterly, yeah, and that's how it is set up in the bylaws. I mean, it's set up that it is quarterly, but you can meet more often if you choose to. Okay, but it has to be
At least quarterly.
It has to be at least quarterly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes
I can put together a needs statement and a PowerPoint some kind of presentation and a needs statement and a review of who we are, what we do, and why we're doing it, and have that to you guys in a few weeks at the very longest before I leave Montana for sure.
Okay. All right. Does that work for you guys?
Does that work?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, once Lisa gets up here, I think we can kind of look at a schedule and figure out when we can get over there.
On my board are at the state legislature right now, and they're actually going to be home this coming week now for 10 days. But they told me that we're just a big black hole down here, so don't expect a whole lot out of us until the first part of May.
Okay.
So I was wondering if you want to. me, but I mean, we need
Well, I mean, if they're going to be there, maybe just an introductory to them or whatever, just, so when May rolls around, they at least know who we are. We've got our foot in the door. Okay.
Do you want me to get in contact with this contractor, the building contractor?
Yeah, if you could get, again, just so we can do the introductory, and I'll bring over a blueprint and we can take a look, see, what he thinks.
I don't think so.
Jason, I'm sure you did, but I didn't need to ask you. People that drew up the blueprint engineering firm up there, sometimes those are people that you could rely on to give good referrals.
Yeah, and George, she's actually given me 2 referrals of which she feels very confident with. So, I mean, but again, I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we need to put this out for a bid. I mean, I think this needs to be done on a bid process.
And the thing is also, unlike maybe some other people listening in here, I'm familiar with the layout, the growth is up there. And the reason I think the contractor might do, I can't give you this in a timeline because I got 6 other jobs going. That's how short they are on overall availability of professional people. And so they're juggling this, and they run from one job to another, and therefore they can't say, I'm going to commit to this much time and get it done by X date. That's the problem.
Right.
And a lot of the contractors, they're not like Talcott and Great Falls. They're big. They're huge, and they just come in and build the whole doggone building.
Right. Well, and see, you're right, George. It's all the subs that are the ones that, when you have to deal with the plumber or the electrician or the excavator or, all, it's not just the general. It's all the subs that come into this.
Yeah.
So, but I guess that's why I determined that we needed to go to a general, and the general needs to be responsible for the subs, not me. So, okay. All right. Well, when I come over, I'll bring over a set of plans, and we'll let the people over there. And then I've actually got three people here looking at it. So if we get that 4th bid in there, that's 4 bids, and then I'll get it to you guys, and you can look at it and see what you think. And then again, we're going to have to raise the money to be able to build it.
And get staff around here is
That
not easy.
building, I thought Dan had some people from California wanted to get in on that.
Yeah, he does. And there's a very strong possibility that can happen. But, I think Dan's confidence is going to have to be built back up here a little bit because, like I said, these guys they took us over the coals again. And Dan's just kind of like...
You said these were people that maybe the other board members don't know were friends and confidants. And, that's probably the last people you want to work with because it's like, well, geez, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Jason, they had a bid or something, and then they say, we need $4,000 for some lift to lift materials. It's like, that's insane.
Right.
That's included.
Well, and see, the other part of that is, George, and I'm glad you brought that up because what's happening is Dan's been here a long time. He knows everybody or whatever. And then they come out and they say, well, Jason said, well, Jason wants, and so then I get the phone call from Dan to say, what the hell's going on? And I'm like, Dan, I didn't say that. I'm not doing that, So they've managed to position themselves between Dan and I, and I'm fortunate enough that the relationship between Dan and I is strong enough because of what we've been through thus far that, they don't get very far with that. But Dan was just, and again, George, you're right. It's I'm not dealing with the buddy system up here anymore. It's you put the bid in, you put a contract together. If you don't do what you say, I guarantee you I've got an attorney strong enough that we're going to come after you. And I'm not trying to sound like a hard guy there, but I'm really, I've had enough.
Bird.
That's not being a hard guy, that's just being prudent. You have a duty, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay, with that being said, I'm gonna get off here and I'm gonna let the board continue. I think you guys kind of need to come up with your officers. I need that. I've put your names on with the state secretary, and I've just kind of like drawn names. So if I have to go back in and change it, I will. But just so you know, what I had done is I put John as the chairman, George, I put you as the vice chair, Vicky, I had put you as the treasurer, and John G, I had put you as the secretary. So you guys can kind of decide if that's the route you want to go or whatever, okay?
Okay.
All right. If you need me, call me back. Well, I mean, I think you can kind of vote on it today if you want to. I mean, the sooner we get this all, correct me if I'm wrong, Vicky, but isn't it the sooner we get all this kind of like put together here, the better off we are?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, and one other thing. I've got the, you guys will all be covered under board insurance. Yeah. I've got to get the final on it here, but I will get that coverage for you. The insurance company didn't get back to me. That again, they were getting 3 different bids for me. So we'll take a look and see what our coverage is and what we cover here.
And you'll let us know.
Yeah. Well, what I'm going to do is once I get it, I'll ship it out to you guys, and then we'll make the decision which company we want to go with or whatever to make sure that we got the coverage that you guys want.
Sure. Just a question, since I don't have the bylaws on what decisions we're going to make when you get off the line. Did the bylaws say what the term of the board members are?
2 years, and you can re-up that. So in other words,
Does it have a staggered membership so that
boy, now you know what? I'm over there.
in other words, you replace each other and then go back around. Is that what you mean? Yeah. This is say how many board members we're going to have.
Okay, you have to have a minimum of 4, a maximum of 13.
Okay. The reason I brought that up is to have continuity on the board. Normally, it's good to stagger the terms so that if their 2-year term, half will come up in 1 year, the next half will come up the following year.
Yeah.
So that
Okay.
you don't take the risk of
Right. I get what you're saying now. Yeah. Vicky, I'm gonna walk over to my office and I'm gonna email those off to you. Okay. So that you have them, and maybe you can just briefly look at them while you're talking to the guys. Okay. Okay. I want to thank you all very much, and I am so looking forward to working with all of you.
Thank you.
Good work. Thank you. It was a pleasure. Looking forward to working with you guys. Pleasure to meet you, Lisa. Bye, Vic. Hey guys, y'all still on the line?
I'm here. Yep. I'm still here.
Something else. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I'm here. He had shown me his treasure and some of the stuff with secretary, and my background is legal, and I've been a secretary of the board of about 50 boards.
Thank you for asking.
And I'm currently a secretary of the board for a nonprofit, and I just feel like I have better experience in a better capacity to serve as a secretary, not as the treasurer.
I would be happy with that. This is George. I mean, I know John, and we're both on the backside of 60. And I don't mind being the vice and working and, going out there. I have a couple of business ventures that I have a company that's probiotics, and we're quite successful. And,
Really?
yeah, I could fill you in on that. But like all things, Jason, I mean, without his passion, there's no way this program would have survived. It takes more than money because, like many places, and maybe in Montana in particular, they have what are called out-of-stater, meaning out-of-state people, haters. And you could be here for decades, 2 decades, and still not literally be accepted. Now that's gotten a little bit less, but yet at the same time, up where he's at in Flathead, I mean, egos just abound, and these people are, and they have no basis for it. But so, I mean, it's just, I'm extremely proud of him. I mean, I put personally a lot of money for my level, you know, a few $100,000 into this program is a lot. And yet at the same time, with his perseverance and his transition from, I got involved in the veterans thing. I was a scout helicopter pilot in Vietnam, and I was really wanting to help these guys, which I think had some merit on several levels, but none of them, except for toward the very end, were combat veterans. They were, I mean, I got PTSD, and they weren't even in anywhere near combat. And there's a lot of people that have a sense of entitlement, and it's just, I could tell you all kinds of stories. And there was like, of the 72, I think that ran through, probably 70 were non-combat veterans. And most of them, what he did, we did help some people that really did move on, but a lot of them, they just wanted bed and breakfast and go use their VA money and get drunk. It was very, very disappointing. You know, and I mean, I have my own thought on this whole, you know, drug dealers and drug lords and the drug users. I grew up in that era. I smoked a little pot and then I quit. I've been to parties when I was young as a pilot and stuff. Cocaine was there, and I'm like, no, I'm not interested. People often don't want to have a sense of responsibility, and I hope that maybe I can go up there and talk to some of these young people to help instill in them that if you really want to have a life, you have to accept responsibility, not just be for what you've done and failed at or whatever, and you learn a lesson. I mean, the drug dealer doesn't make you take drugs. Sometimes they get people that experiment, but it's your own responsibility. It's how you're raised. I don't buy into this whole thing we're all victims. And yet, if we can help these guys, say, John, what? Are you on Skype, John? Yeah, I think next time we want to call in on the landline, because you're just coming in. I can hear you're there, but that's about it. Yeah, that's about it. So, at any rate, I'm just very proud of Jason. I might be able to come up with some more money here on my own to help, but at the same time, I mean, I'm nobody's hero, but for about over a year, I put $10,000 cash a month into that program, plus buildings, equipment, and I just, you know, lost count. Now we do have, I think, Christy Taylor. I met her through Jason. She is an expert with CPA, 52 maybe years old, 53, 4. She's also her expertise is at high levels in non-profits, and she's helping him on this, and I think pretty much free of charge. So she'll put the financials together, and I think the program's going to succeed. It's just there's public relations work, because a lot of people are very resistant. They don't like change, like this Billy and these guys that work for Volunteers of America. I mean, they've got their own agenda, and the thing is, that's how, you know, Jason's come in, and it doesn't align with their agenda unless they can run his show, which they couldn't. They'd fail. The whole program would fail, and the only reason they got stuff going is because they get money from the government. You know, otherwise they'd fail too. So that's what I have to say. But Vicky, is it Victoria? Vicky, how do you like to?
No, it's just Vicky.
Okay. That's really good. I appreciate it. If you have to take some notes and put that together, so I think John in Great Falls would too. He's poured his heart and soul since he's retired. John, you're what, 72?
Well, I had 72.
I'm 67 here this month. And
I'll be 67 again.
Yeah, we not that we're so old. It's just there's other things we've got going. And John's trying to build some stuff here in Great Falls, and I've met some of the people that are also interested. It's just none of this, unless there's money to be made by people. A lot of them, it's like, their idea is it's not about the mission, it's about how much money's in it for them. And then therefore it's kind of difficult to get them to move off of their pedestal, if you will, that they put themselves up on. Are we still together?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just. I think you're right on, George.
Yeah, I mean, this is a nonprofit. Our point is to actually contribute something to these people that need help, and
right.
That's right for the money, and that's egos are not our.
What I'll spend my money on, and I'm going to go up and talk to these guys, and we have a brain chemistry product that was developed in 1996. It's got like 26 neural nutrients, if you will, and precursors to help the brain or the body build its brain chemistry up. We can go into that later. And now I gave a couple $100,000, I lent it to them, but I'll probably never get back, to a company out of Florida that has an internationally patented process to put stuff like this into a nanoparticle spray. And I have a number, actually, John could tell you stories too in Great Falls, but I've got people that they didn't have it. Their hope was at the end. And I said, just spray this in your mouth and keep doing it, 6-7 times a day as necessary. And I'm here to tell you their life has changed. We've taken people, the only ones I haven't worked with because I can't find them is heroin, but we've taken people right off of oxycodone, hydrocodone, without withdrawal. And
I'd like to see more than that.
We'll get there. And we've had this now, I've got combat veterans that are still suffering. Non-alcohol, non-drug combat veterans that will just tell you there's nothing like this. It's just, it helps them, but it crosses the blood-brain barrier in, a couple minutes. So I'm going to give this stuff away to these people. I'm going to go talk to some of the guys that, Jason uses it, I use it, John's used it, John's friends use it. It just brings you on target quick.
I'd like to try it too. I really would, because
my cell phone is, if you're taking note, is 406-621-0104, and you text me your address, I'll get some sent out to you. But it's a product fast. We even use it in animals. Just watch them change right in front of you, like little dogs that get all jumpy and nervous and wet before when you go to bed up. So, but anyway, all of this can come together, and that's why I said Jason's got the foundation, and we can put stuff into this to build on it, and I think it really could go national. And we've got some contacts to Home Depot. It's just you've got to have something to build upon, and if not but for Jason's efforts in this regard, we probably wouldn't be, we don't sell a lot of this. We call it, but John Leahy named it Breakfast for the Brain. John could tell you his story. This is back in 1996, and he has his own issues from something called cryptopyroluria. It took years to diagnose it. It's a brain overheats, and I got John this through some other stuff, and he called me. He says, "George, this is like breakfast for the brain." So that's what we trademarked. And I'm diabetic, and when you're diabetic, if you don't keep your blood sugar totally evened out, you have episodes where your brain doesn't function correctly. I'm interested in seeing if it would work to help diabetics as well. That's a good thought. I didn't really think on that. We did probably 150 women through a almost a 3-year study out of Plainview, Texas, World Health Clinic. It's in the city of Plainview. And it was a Dr. Charles Smith. He's a DO OB/GYN surgeon, age 72. And this product, in a clinical study, we have the data, we could probably publish it, but it's just more time and effort, was 93% effective versus any antidepressants. He says, and he still works with it, not PTSD, postpartum, doesn't even worry about it. If they come down with it or have it, he gives it to them within a day or two, it's gone. Instead of antidepressants. It's that good. And so we know what we have. There's no ego here. It's a submission. So I think I can talk to these guys. I'd even like to give these guys like a little ID card. Come up something looks nice. I'll pay for it. It says, the Glacier Oak Homes Project. If you get pulled over, you give your, whatever, if they fail back. But on that ID card, we could have our numbers and maybe even some of the numbers of the guys if they want to share them that were in their class, so to speak, that they can call on. And it's I feel a lot of this can be overcome, the deficits, if you want to call that, by camaraderie.
So, George, I got a quick question on this. Has this been tried on people who are suffering from opioid addiction?
Oh, I had this young lady out in Hood River, Oregon. Jeez, what a story. She even was counseling young women, that were beaten up by their spouses, and she was the victim of it. She's probably 45, and it caught up with her. And she had to, thank God she had insurance. She had to have major surgeries. Unbelievable. And long story short, I talked to her one day, and she was garbling her words, whatever. And she's pretty funny though. And she doesn't do drugs and alcohol. And she said, "You have to excuse me, I'm on this because all the pains, and I don't like pain meds." I said, "Why didn't you tell me?" I said, "I'll send you some extra break." I overnighted to her, talked to her 2 days later. She was still on very high levels of these drugs, and she was communicating perfectly. Her doctors were shocked, and then she said, "I don't want to be on these, and I think my pain's going to be okay." And she got off it. But here again, the medical doctors are like, "Oh, okay." They don't. I'm sorry, a lot of them really don't care. But she quit taking it's hydrocodone she was on, which is very powerful. She just went off cold turkey and had no withdrawal or anything, and the doctors were shocked, but they weren't really curious to learn anymore. She showed them, "Here's what I'm taking." They're like, "Oh, great for you." So,
where's the train package for?
We make it down in Florida. We provide, and they have put some of the ingredients in. It's got like 26 different B complexes of certain amino acids, like your leucine, isoleucine, tyrosine, stuff like that, and then there's some other antioxidants, and it's all water soluble. So,
Could it be done here at Great Falls, for example?
Oh no, because you're not a GMP facility. It could be done at Bioenergy up in Kalispell. But like you could tell your friend, the state senator, his wife, what was her problem?
I'm trying to remember. You brought that up. I can't remember what it was.
I don't know. She had some issues.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's headache or what.
Some pain issue of some kind.
It was neck or shoulder. It was edited. The next time he called me, he bought a dozen bottles, and she says, my wife just swears by this. Yeah. But at any rate, it has applications across the board. Dr. Smith in Texas had girls come to him, because he's OB/GYN, and they want like, I don't know, Ritalin or one of these drugs to help them stay awake and study for their college exams. He said, "Look, trust me, try this." There was like 5 or 6 of them. They came back and they couldn't believe it. They said, I did better on my exams. I wasn't tired because I wasn't doing the drugs. I was focused. And he said, you should do more studies. Do a study on for students. We have flight crews that take it. When they fly, and so it goes on from there. But we could bring this into the program, and they're going to make it available up here at the Glacial during this cycle. And I was going to be up there yesterday, but we had a big storm here, so I couldn't get out of here. But I was going to address the guys and tell them it's available and stuff like that. And, just hopefully, I've worked with guys that were drinking a case of beer a day, and they don't drink at all anymore. And I'm not making that up. He's right here in Great Falls. And his brother-in-law was one of the top NCOs in the whole out of Great Falls in the first sergeant in the Iraq Afghan war. He did like 7 tours, and this guy, he went through hell, and he uses this and is introduced to other people. And he doesn't have these terrible episodes like he's had before. And the guy never drank alcohol in his life, so it's not like he went from one addiction to another, okay? So, okay, enough on that. So I'll get that to you, Vicki, and if anybody else wants it, John in Florida gets it. So we'll just, I don't want to hold the floor here. I'm just letting you know I will do whatever I can to help because...
let me go back to this again. So John is the chairman of the board. Who is the vice chairman?
That's me for right now. I don't need this. I am only doing it because Jason asked me.
Okay, and then I'll be the secretary. Okay, I just want to make sure I have been documenting all this correctly to put together the minutes. And I just got the bylaws from Jason, and I've just reviewed the bylaws. And these questions of expectation term, request of how often the board will convene, that's all in the bylaws. The term of the board is 2 years. That does show a staggered term, so that half would be voted on 1 year, half next year. We need to decide which 2 board members are going to be up for re-election next year and which 2 will be in a full 2-year term.
And Vicki, if you have people there that that would like to be involved in something like this, to me, if it wasn't for Jason's flexibility, this would have never survived. I can't say enough about this guy. He just never gave up, and I wouldn't have pursued it, even though I had enough money to do the things I wouldn't do it because it just burned me out.
Well, do you guys have any kind of opinion about how many directors we should strive to start with? Besides the 4 of us.
I don't know. If you know somebody wants to be on board, I think sometimes more the merrier if they're focused on with the same thought. And let's put it this way, one of the things I learned in flight school, and they drilled it into us, was the team concept. And you won't find this on the internet. Something similar, but it was TEAM. Together, everyone advances mutually. And that's what I would try to put to these young men and people that are having issues they have. Because we'll work with them. It's not in the door, out the door, see you later, thanks for the money, whatever. I'm going on that philosophy. It's not going to work. Because people...
obviously, the very best part of the program is the follow-up, the process that they have to do the follow-up and make sure that there's a follow-through by the participants and to check back and see, make sure that any problems after they get out of the 21-day program are addressed.
Well, and here I'll bring something to that. Because I wanted to do something, and you could be a veteran, so to speak, without being a military veteran, and what I have is, and it comes to one of my phone lines, landlines, but we own it, so to speak, is 855, because we have veterans for veterans, so it's 855, okay, BET for BET, which is 838 for, veterans for, number 4, veterans, or vet for vet would be 855-838-4838. Very easy number to memorize. So as this goes forward, we could even, which I'd like, and we have the space and resources up there, it's just doing it, is get guys involved where they could and man these man lines, etc. And I didn't know all this stuff. I'm learning as I go. The fact is, you could have 855-838-4838 to ring to your phone, Vicki. Not that we want to do that, and we could have it ring if your phone was busy, or it could roll over and ring to John Lee's. And this all happens in a flash. So, and I talk to these companies, and it doesn't cost. I mean, it's like today, it doesn't cost anything. You don't pay. It's a flat rate per month. You know, 100 different people that could be whatever it is, they could pick up on it. So to help the veterans, the program. I mean, right? Because sometimes you need somebody to talk to. Right. That's a great idea. So we have it, 855-838-4838. You just put that in a memory. Okay, not to drag on the administrative front, but any decisions we make today, we're going to have to vote on as a board and approve, so that when I write up the minutes, I will say these were the voted decisions by the board. So, well, I guess one of them was you to be secretary, or not necessary, because it wasn't already decided that John was going to be the secretary from a standpoint of having, I don't think, documented. Maybe it is. Okay, now we need to vote on that, because those are things that are only decided at the first board meeting. Oh, okay. So you got my vote. Well, are we voting that the slate of the board members, the people currently on the phone, are incorporated as board members, and that the slate of officers of the board are as follows? And let me read it. John Leahy as chairman of the board. John Gass as treasurer, is that correct? George Ackerson as vice chairman, and Richard Martinez as secretary of the board. Did I capture that properly? Right. Okay, so all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, so we now officially have our board members and our slate of officers, so that's done. Other formal votes we need to take today on the phone, or do we need to? We can always call meetings more often than quarterly. If something should come up, and we can even amend the bylaws if it's not in here. Agree to have votes by email if everyone is agreeable to that. If an issue comes up and Jason brings something and wants the board to make a decision, we do not necessarily have to get on the phone. We can discuss it and vote by email if everyone agrees. We can write that into the bylaws. I would agree. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Okay. No, it's probably a good idea to do it that way because we're scattered all over the country. Exactly. That's what I was thinking. We probably get more done by email than anything else. Yeah. Are there any other specific issues that we need to vote on today that I need to include in the minutes? Not, no. Okay. All right. I'm sure I had the administrative part covered. Any other points of business that y'all want to discuss? I don't have any. No, I don't have any. Okay. Well, do we want to conclude the board meeting and bring it to a close? I'd vote yes. Yes, for me. Listen, guys, it's been a real pleasure meeting you, talking to you, and discovering all that you bring to the board. And I know that Jason's real happy to have each and every one of you. It's good to be on board. If I got, okay, everybody's got my cell number, and what to do is put together a contact list for us. Let me give you my email address. It's Vicki L. Martinez, VICKYL
Martinez, Martinez, at live.com. If you guys would all send me your addresses, your emails, your contact cell numbers, I will put together a setting.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All right, I'm going to say goodbye then.
All right.
Okay.
Goodbye. We'll talk soon.
Hey, we'll talk again.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
John's still there. We just came back in,
John, are
John.
you still there?
You're
Yeah.
right.
Well, I went. Okay. So, yeah. What did you think? Yeah, it is. Yep. So one of the things we got to do is between Vicky's notes and my notes, we'll have to get it together and get it in the book. So what she'll do is she'll take the minutes that you guys had, because I wasn't in here for the whole thing. Okay, I mean I was getting her that information stuff. Then I went in the house and stuff, and so I just walked in here just about the time you guys were saying goodbye. So I'll get the notes that she has in the minutes and the notes that I have. We'll put the minutes together, and then here on site I have a book that's for the corporation, and we'll just keep all the minutes in there. Okay, so she writes down, she's going to take the minutes. In other words, what you guys talked about, she'll type that up in a format, and I'll type up what we talked about when I was here, and we'll put that in a format. So this all, like when we first start a meeting, like the next meeting, you'll be the one that'll start the meeting as the chairman, okay? And then you'll state, the past business. And
Vicky
I'll
can
send
read the
you,
minutes.
yeah, and then Vicky will read the minutes of what happened in the last meeting.
Just today.
Okay, and then if there's any current or if there's any past business that has to be taken care of, you talk about that first, and then the next. I mean, I've got a whole outline I can send to you, John, so you know how it goes. Yeah. So anyway, we'll do that, and then you can tell Lisa is very, very sharp, can't you? Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then from the legal standpoint, I'm going to tell you what, and I didn't want to say it in front of Vicky, but Vicky's the one. She was the last attorney standing with Enron.
She dispersed the money
She dispersed $30 billion worth of assets for Enron.
when they went.
Yeah. So she's 30 billion. Yep. When she told me that, I just looked at her and she said, "Yes, I said billion." I was like, "Holy shit!" But and you can tell she's very methodical. She took a couple of our contracts that we had, or forms that I needed, like employee contract and confidentiality contracts. She whipped those things together so fast it wasn't even funny. So it is. It is. Right. Well, I think when you said to me not too long ago about, the knowing if that money ever came through, where did we have our ducks in a row to handle it? With Vicky on board, there is no doubt in my mind. No doubt in my, yeah. Yeah. Right. Well, I don't know. What did you guys decide? Okay, so Vicky's now the secretary. Well, you're still the chairman, aren't you? Yeah, okay. As long as you stay the chairman, because see what has to happen, John, now, like for the next meeting, if there's something that I want to bring into the meeting, I mean, I've got to get that to you. You have to approve. You're the one that sets up the agenda for the meeting, beyond the the scheduled, the introductory, yes, we're here, reading the minutes, the old thing, all that. Then you're the one that conducts the meeting from there on out. So it's called the new news. Yeah, it is. It really is. And as this grows, and I highly suspect, John, that as we go through here, we're going to see more board members. But we need really good people on this board. Because I'm going to tell you something. The people that we're bringing in here now to work with us, likely so. Okay. 50. This young kid that I've got that I'm talking to right now is probably about 32. And I'll get a resume put together on him. But, I mean, these are young people that are going to want to make this thing go. Yep, absolutely. So, okay, well, I won't keep you on the line any longer, but I'll get my notes together and I'll get Vicky's and then we'll get them to you so you can approve them, okay? I'm sorry? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. The facility? Sure. Did I send you the blueprints? Okay, no. I have a brand new. I'll send those out to you, John. We had an architect actually draw these up. The structural part of it's there. She's now working on the electrical and the plumbing. Yeah. So, okay, yeah, I'll get that out. Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm just to the point where, like I said, if I can't get a contract, they're not coming out here. I'm just, when Dan called me the other day, I mean, he was damn near in tears, and he's like, Jason, well, he just said to me, he said, Jason, every dime I've made the last 2 years has went right back into Glacier Hope Homes. And he said, I don't know if I'm ever getting a dime back. And I said, Dan, you will get your money back. I promise you. And that was one of the determining factors of bringing Lisa in and just biting the bullet and say, okay, um, and quite honestly, she's not that much more expensive than the secretary that I just fired. So, yeah. So anyway, okay, let me get the notes. All right, we'll talk to you soon. All right, bye, buddy. All right. All right. Okay. I don't know how we get off of this.